Okay, so let's discuss prostate massaging, and or sometimes it's discussed or called prostate milking, because I think there's a lot of tabooness around this topic when there really shouldn't be. And so I want to talk about it so that we are all educated on this topic. So number one, why is everyone so afraid of prostate massages? Society has made being penetrated a effeminate thing. You are a woman if you get penetrated. So when we are growing up in a society that focuses on masculinity and making men the manliest men in the entire world, and they're so strong and they're so angry all the time and they're here to support and they're here to provide, it's bullshit. And so men are made to believe that if they want to experiment with anal play, pegging, prostate orgasms, they are in some way, shape, or form gay. It makes it mean something about their sexuality, which is really sad because the prostate orgasm is one of the most, if not the most intense orgasm that a man can feel. And a lot of men refuse to explore with it because of the fact that they think it's gonna make them mean that they're gay, which it doesn't. It's just another form of pleasure that every single person should be able to experiment with. So let's just take the tabooness right off the fucking table, because it's not taboo. If you love to experience anal play as a man, it means nothing about your sexuality. And let's talk about how to do this properly so that if you want to explore this with your partner, you are educated, your partner is educated, and then you guys can communicate to make it happen. So what is a prostate? Let's start there. If you have a penis, you have a prostate. If you don't have a penis, you do not have a prostate. First piece of knowledge that you need to have. Does that mean that you can't experience anal pleasure if you have a penis versus not have a penis? No, but specifically penis owners have a prostate, and it's a rubbery gland that is located inside of the anus. The main job of the prostate is to produce a fluid that helps your sperm swim easier in order to fertilize an egg. So it's a huge part of the reproductive process. Now it's located about 2 inches inside of your anus between your penis and your bladder. It is going to be located on the front wall, and it is going to feel like some people say a walnut, a ping pong, what is another one? A stone. You're gonna be able to feel it when your fingers are up there. You may also hear the prostate called the P spot or the G spot, like the male G spot, because in order to milk the prostate, one of the things you have to do is this come hither motion, which if you are trying to stimulate a woman in her G spot, it's the same thing. You're kind of feeling for that exact kind of spongy walnut size texture, and you're going to want to go come hither. So that's why it's also referred to as the male G spot. Now, prostate orgasms are considered the most powerful orgasms that a man can have. They are considered the super orgasm. And it is one way for a man to experience multiple orgasms. Yeah, men can experience multiple prostate orgasms, which is different from just your penile ejaculation orgasm. And there's no rebound time typically when you're experimenting with prostate massaging and orgasming that way. The difference between a prostate orgasm and a penile ejaculation orgasm is that typically when men ejaculate, they feel it mostly in their genitals. With a prostate orgasm, it is supposed to be more of a full body style orgasm. That's why it's called a super orgasm, because they can feel it in every inch of their body. It can produce multiple orgasms with no refractory period, as well as is sometimes called the dry O for men, because the biggest misconception of prostate orgasms is that you ejaculate every single time with a prostate orgasm. Kind of like the video I showed you on Sex Ed on Netflix. No, that's not necessarily the case. Some men will ejaculate, some men won't, but they will still experience a full body orgasm. The biggest thing about prostate orgasms is kind of like the female orgasm and female pleasure. You have to allow yourself to recognize that you are given the permission to feel that style orgasm, because that style orgasm is full of pleasure. Now, I also want to address that the prostate orgasm feels different for every single man. So some men can have a mind-blowing, earth-shattering, like full body orgasm. Some men don't. It can be a little less intense. It can help further along ejaculation. It can be something like a little bit of a pressure or a tickly feeling, something that aids but doesn't necessarily like shake their body. It's kind of like the female orgasm, right? Sometimes females have orgasms that are kind of slower and a little bit more methodical, and sometimes we have like those big bang boom earth-shattering style orgasms. So the prostate O can be either for a man. So if you try this and don't have this explosive orgasm, keep trying. It's going to take some practice. So let's get into the how-to, because there are two methods in which you can do prostate massaging, internally and externally. But the biggest thing you need to know ahead of time is the prostate almost mimics the clit, where the more aroused the person is, the easier it is going to be to find the prostate, because the prostate does swell, just like the clitoris swells, right? So we want to make sure before we practice any of this that our subject is nice and warmed up. You want them aroused so that, one, they're more comfortable, they are a little bit more relaxed, and it will make the prostate easier to find. So ensure that they are aroused. You can do this orally, you can do this with your hand, you can do whatever type of stimulation you want. If you are doing this solo, try your hand, you can watch some porn, whatever it is that gets you going. Do that first. Don't just go in dry. So the first way we're going to stimulate the prostate is through a perineum orgasm, or it's basically a prostate orgasm on the outside. Now the perineum is a little divot that is found between your anus and your ball sack, which is mostly known as the taint. So if you were trying to experiment externally on your own, you're basically wanting to take a finger and sit where your balls, like where your taint is, sit on the finger and try to find that little divot. You're gonna feel the divot, and it's probably gonna make you feel like you have to pee. That is your prostate. Another way to do this is to lie back, obviously on your back, spread eagle, take a toy, and then try to find that divot with a vibrating toy. Once again, if you feel the sensation you have to pee, you're there. Once you find the spot, what you wanna do is put pressure on that spot. Kind of like press up with the pads of your finger into that spot or with the toy, and then just kind of go by how your body feels. Experiment with, if you're using, say, a vibrator, experiment with kind of the different intensity settings, the different vibration settings, the different types of stimulation. Like I said, if you're using your hand, try kind of pushing upwards, try the come hither motion, try like massaging it, try whatever feels good. This is the perfect time to just listen to your body. And once again, if you were doing this solo play, right, which we always suggest experimentation on our own first, just listen to your body and just remember, you're safe. This is normal. It's great. You have permission to feel this. The second way is internally. So this is where you are going to use your finger or your toy. I suggest, if you've never done any type of anal play, always start with your finger. One finger, just one. And what you are going to do is you are going to take your finger and you're going to put it inside of your anus. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go about 1 to 2 inches up, and you are probably going to feel the prostate. It's going to be located on the front wall of your anus next to your bladder. Once you're there, you're going to feel around, like take your time, breathe, feel around for the prostate. You're gonna feel something like a ping pong, a walnut, a stone, and it's going to start swelling as you become more aroused. So let's dive into some do's and don'ts of prostate massaging. Number 1, try this on your own first. I highly encourage solo play with any new like sexual exploration. However, if you are going to do it with a partner for the first time, just make sure it's the right person, someone that you can trust and someone that can communicate with you. And you have to be able to communicate as well what you're feeling, if you are uncomfortable, what type of pressure they should apply. So make sure you're in a trusting environment if you are doing it with a partner. Always, always, always ask for consent before you ever stick your finger in someone's butt. Honestly, you saw in the clip, she surprised him with it. Don't surprise people with it. You never know how comfortable they are, and you always want consent. So if you are doing this with a partner, make sure both of you are consenting to do it. Don't do this to surprise your partner in a spicy way, because you don't know, right? And we always want to make sure people are comfortable. So ask for enthusiastic consent. Use lubrication as always with anal play. It's not just a little bit of spit. You need accurate amount of lubrication. You need a lot of lubrication, especially if this is someone who has never experienced anal play before. Just putting your finger in your mouth and coating it with your saliva and then sticking it up their bum is not enough lubrication. And it's not going to happen that quickly either for someone who has never experienced anal play before. It's like your anus is a muscle and you're going to try to stick something up there, and if they're not ready for it, if they're not relaxed, it's not going to let anything get up there. Now, a little bit of prep work and discussing some prep work. Just be prepared when you are experiencing any type of anal play. So obviously, clean yourself. Being able to shower, take a bath, anything that's going to relax your body and clean your body with mild soap before experimenting with any type of anal play. Before that, if you can, have a bowel movement. Not sexy to talk about, but it is part of the preparation process, because if you don't, then accidents can happen. Try not to eat before you're going to experiment with prostate play. So, and when I mean that, I mean like immediately before. Can you eat like 6 hours before? Absolutely. But the closer you eat to prostate play, the greater the chances of a mess happening. Just in case a mess does happen, because that is also completely normal, nothing to be embarrassed about. Make sure you have some wet wipes around. Make sure you have a towel of some sort, something to clean up the mess. Like I stated before, warm yourself up, whether it's solo or with partner play. Ensure that you are already aroused before you go in there. This is the same for any women who are listening who want to experiment with anal play on their own. Always get yourself to a climax or pretty close to before you start inserting anything into your anus. Why? Because what it does is it helps your body relax. The anus is a muscle. If it's not relaxed, you're going to keep trying to push in there and it's not going to accept what you're pushing in there. So you want to make sure your body is relaxed and you're already aroused before you go fishing per se. All right, so you're warmed up, you're ready. First things first, always use your fingers first. I know these prostate toys look so much fun, but if you have not ever experienced any type of anal play before, you want to do it slowly. We've spoken about this in the past with anal stretching. So we want to use one finger. What you were doing is while you were stimulating yourself or having someone else stimulate you, you want to have that person or yourself take your fingers, put a lot of lubrication on your fingers, and you want them to circle your anus with your finger, with their finger and the lubrication. Once again, you want to make sure you're super lubricated. Then you're literally just going to keep your fingers there for a little bit and you are going to stroke that area, the outside of the anus. This is to let the anus relax, and you can even take the pad of your fingers if you want to start with two, and kind of push in to the anus like it's a doorbell. Seems stupid, but what you're doing is you're getting it to relax. You're getting it to recognize that the sensation that's coming from there is a good sensation and it is safe within doing so. Then what's going to happen is your anus is going to relax. This is where you take one finger and you insert it slowly into the anus. So you're not going, once the anus relaxes, you're not shoving it up in there. You are going a literal like half an inch at a time. And it's okay to put like a half inch in, then pull it out a little. Half inch in, pull it out. Repeat that process like 5 or 10 times. The anus will relax even further, then go in a little further, right? We're only going in about 1 to 2 inches. Take your time with this, guys. Slow, methodical. Anticipation builds. It allows your body to relax. You don't need to rush this process. So take your time with the insertion. Once you get your finger in there, kind of feel around. Remember, we want to go in the front wall. So if this is like your anus, we want to go the front wall. We want to feel for that golf ball, walnut, whatever analogy or terminology you want to use. And then there are kind of 3 different things you can do once you're there. Number 1, when you're there, the come hither, right? It's the male version of the female G-spot, which is initiated in that exact same way. So you want to do like a come hither motion when you feel it. Slow and gentle. And then if you are doing it to yourself, obviously you can feel what feels great and you can increase intensity. If you are having a partner do it, explain to them what you're feeling. Communicate how you are feeling. Communicate if you want them to speed up, slow down, right? Communication is key. Then you've got the second one. This one is kind of, called like warm, wet circles. So like when you feel the prostate, you want to circle your fingers on the outside of the prostate, kind of in both directions. You can even kind of like zigzag a little or like swirl in the center to stimulate the prostate. Once again, if you are doing this with a partner, communicate to them how you feel. The third one is called the doorbell technique. Just pressing and holding onto the prostate. Let go. Press, hold, right? Sometimes this is literally all it takes. This is the easiest method, and typically this is the one that men feel the most. For my ladies who may want to try this with their partner, I guess my advice would be like having them lay down on a bed and beginning stimulation by oral sex, right? Being able to get them hard, get them ready, get yourself ready for it. Also, during oral sex, there's an excess typically of lubrication from saliva, which you can actually use to your benefit as you are blowing them. You can take that lubrication and start lubricating around the anus, start tickling around the anus, start doing whatever you want, the doorbell method, outside of the anus. But always have extra lubrication just in case that's not enough. And then as you are performing oral, start kind of playing and stimulating that area. And you're going to feel the anus kind of do like a wink motion, or like you're going to feel it open up. So when you feel it open up, then just start sticking your finger in slowly, but like surely, always communicating your partner while still giving the blowjob at the same time. You have 2 hands. Use them. Use your left hand if you're right-handed to hold the penis and keep going up and down the shaft. Use your right hand to do the insertion because that's the hand you're going to feel the most confident with. And then once it's up there, I always think during oral sex, the best way is just the doorbell method. Just press on it. And then that way you're not trying to jumble like the come hither motion or this. It's more of just like pressing once you find it, continuing oral sex, and then watch what happens. And remember, if he doesn't ejaculate during prostate play, it doesn't mean he's not experiencing an orgasm. Kind of just like we would say with like female ejaculation or female squirting. Just because you're not squirting doesn't mean you're not having an orgasm. They're kind of like 2 different things. So constantly checking in with your partner. You will typically be able to see if you are doing it right, because their body is going to kind of like not tense up, but it's definitely going to get like your body does right before an orgasm as well. So just pay attention to their body cues, but also if you were the person receiving the prostate milking, ensure that you are discussing and communicating this with your partner about like how it feels, if you need them to do anything extra, if you need them to lighten up, or if you need more. And also during this time, you'll probably see like pre-cum. So the prostate milking is called prostate milking because of like the thin white substance that comes out of the penis while you are milking it. So it almost like, it looks like pre-cum. So just be aware of that. He may ejaculate that way and not have a full ejaculation. So it may be a dry orgasm, remember, because he can have it and not come at all. He can pre-cum a little bit, or he can fully ejaculate. Every man is different, and I really think that this is just like female squirting, where it's also depends on their comfort level, because at the beginning it could probably feel a little awkward, especially if you are starting the first time with a partner and it's both your first times. Like, it can be an awkward situation where you don't know how it feels or if you like that feeling just yet, and they're kind of up there just in a way practicing. So communication is fucking so key. And remember, you can stimulate this area over and over and over again. So it is going to create multiple orgasms within a man, which is cool that he can experience it just like a woman can experience it. Also, while you're doing it, just be after you're finished and you're both satisfied, make sure that you pull your fingers out, or the toy, or whatever you're using, slowly. Don't just yank out your fingers. Don't just rip out the toy. Slowly. Make sure your partner is safe. Don't just rip things outside of them or out of them. Make sure you have things for cleanup. Make sure you sanitize your hands as part of, which I should have said. If you're using your fingers, wash your hands, trim your nails. Don't be going up there with like 6-inch nails, ladies. That's not going to feel great, right? So make sure it's like your natural fingers. Make sure you wash them. If you're using a toy, sanitation before and afterwards. Make sure you clean yourself up if you are the person who received the prostate milking, and make sure you wash your hands if you are the person who was giving the milking. And aftercare is key. What I mean by that, and there's an article in Smex Ed magazine about aftercare and how it's crucial for all type of relationships. Please go read it. It's a great article. But check in with your partner after they explore this new side of them, because they may be struggling with like how it made them feel. They might like it, but also there's a lot of societal conditioning that make people feel like they shouldn't receive the pleasure that they should. So check in with your partner afterwards, communicate with them, let them know that they are safe, let them know that you enjoyed the experience as much as they enjoyed it, and just talk to each other and figure out what to do next and if it's something you want to keep doing. And there are a few things that I will say, and these are my personal opinions, take it or leave it. But one, if you are a gentleman who wants to have anal sex or anal play with your partner, but won't let her do it to you, that is unfair. Relationships are a two-way street. They are giving and receiving. So don't first off, don't ever pressure your partner in doing anything, but also know if you are going to ask your partner and say, I would really like to have anal sex, and then you won't sit there and receive anal play on your own or prostate play on your own if she wants to do it to you, that needs to be a conversation that you two have. And if you were open up to doing it to her, you should be opened up to receiving it as well. If you were a woman who is like, oh no, I would never do that with my partner because that means he's gay, or I don't like how, he makes me feel like he's gonna wanna be with men, that is such bullshit. And I'm sorry, but not sorry. Like, penetration is not something that is just meant for women. It is what society has created, this idea and this notion in our head. And if your partner is asking for you to experiment with prostate play, that is an extremely vulnerable thing for them to be asking. And so make sure that you are checking your own beliefs and your own preconceived notions of what that means about them, because it literally has nothing to do with their sexuality. It doesn't. And if we want women to be able to experience the utmost pleasure they can, we should give men that same permission. Even if society makes it taboo, it's not taboo. Always question what people are telling you. Sex should be something that is just experienced between two people to reach the most intimate level with each other that they can. Like, this is true intimacy when we get into some of the things that are a little bit more taboo on sex, is that it is intimate for a woman to penetrate a man in some way, shape, or form for her and for him. And it does require a lot of vulnerability on both partners, or both people, in order to experiment with this. And it should be a safe space for you to be able to ask to receive this, or to ask and just, communicate your wants and your desires to another person. So how do you communicate this to your partner is probably going to be a follow-up question I receive. So saying to your partner, like, hey, I would really love to explore this sexually. I think it would feel really good for me. I really want you to be a participant in it, and I want this to be something that we could do together. Can we have this discussion? I'll tell you about the information that I found out about it, and then you can take time, research, and then come back to me. We don't need to make the decision today. There's just this thing, and I just want to try it, and I want to be able to try it with you. Can we just try this together? And if your partner says no, give them time. Don't pressure them. Be understanding. If you were someone who wants to receive it and your partner won't do it for you, start experimenting with it on your own. And if you are the partner who is completely shut down about it, just take some time and think about the reasons you don't want to do it. Obviously, your comfortability is important, but also ask it if it's just the beliefs that society is telling you versus your comfortability. And so I think I went over everything I wanted to discuss today on prostate milking. If you have any additional questions, always feel free to reach out and I will try to help you understand them better. There are a world of prostate toys that once you are ready to explore with that area a little bit more and using toys, you can dive into all of them. I always suggest starting with, say, anal plugs, anal beads. Start small, work your way up to the larger toys. And I think, that's it. Be safe, communicate, do it with someone that you trust and that you know kind of has your back during that situation. And know that if something goes awry or messes happen, it's absolutely normal. It's nothing to be ashamed about or embarrassed about. This is sex. It's all a little awkward and embarrassing at first. The more you start exploring it and getting to do it, the better you become at it and the more comfortable you become. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to message me and I will try to answer them for you. One more thing. Sex is vulnerable, guys. Sex is vulnerability at its finest. And in order to have a happy, healthy, fucking phenomenal sex life, you've got to be willing to be vulnerable with your partner. You got to be willing to go there. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there and ask for what you want and you desire. You have to be vulnerable enough to be on the receiving end of hearing what your partner wants and desires. It is vulnerable during the act when you are exploring each other's bodies and what they are capable of. It is all vulnerability at its fucking finest. If you can't be vulnerable in sex, you cannot have life-changing sex. That's just take it or leave it, but that's my true opinion. You will never be able to have the sex that you have always wanted and desired if you cannot get vulnerable with the person that you are having that sex with. Period. So practice vulnerability on all levels, like we talked about it last week, and how it has to do with your self-confidence. It also has to do with making your sex life better when you are vulnerable enough to say, I really would like to try that. Would you experiment with me? Would you do that with me? It takes a lot of courage, right? And it takes it just takes a lot to be able to communicate your wants and desires to someone. And it is a very vulnerable thing. So don't be afraid to go there with the right person on all levels, because you never know. You do know what it will lead to. It will lead to the most phenomenal sex you've ever fucking had in your entire life. And the most phenomenal connection of intimacy that you have ever had in your entire life with another human being. That's what it'll lead to. Never anything bad.